I'm also known as Trisha Biz on the online streets. We hope that you are keeping safe. So thank you for joining. Before I go into why we're here, what this is about, I see that there are 50 people here. Wow, you guys are so early. You can just introduce yourself in the comment section. So just tell us your name and the city you are joining from. I'll go first. I am Trisha. I'm joining from Lagos, Nigeria. So let's meet you. Tell us in the in the comment section where you're joining from, and we will be kicking off in a few minutes. So we want to thank you. We know this is a Friday afternoon. We want to thank you for taking out time to attend this edition of Leading Conversations with FBNQuest. This is the first in a series of webinars to commemorate Women's Month, right? So I want to give you like a brief background about what this is about. What is Leading Conversations with FBNQuest? Now, it is a webinar series that is created to bring you market, industry, consumer insights, and analysis that are crucial for individual and corporate success. All right, so this series, it will feature leading professionals of FBNQuest, as well as other industry experts with experience in corporate and private investment management. So if you want to learn how to manage your, your wealth, your money, this is the place you should be. So we hope that we're able to open your mind to a world of opportunities through the series. And we look forward to engaging you. So you are welcome. I see people have joined from 2 countries. There's Lagos, there's Ghana, and there's Nigeria, there's Ghana, and there's all cities. We have Yobe, we have leading professionals of FBNQuest, we have Agop Palace Way, Lagos, we have Ogun State. Welcome everybody. Somebody's joining from Bonny. Fantastic. We have somebody from France, another person from the US of A. You are all welcome. So I'll go straight into introducing our speaker for today. You'll be amazed at at who is coming up today. So her name is Mofoluke Keshinro, and she is the head of private trust services at FBNQuest Trustees Limited. She is the first certified trust and estate practitioner in Nigeria. Let me repeat, she's the first certified trust and estate practitioner in Nigeria. That's a big deal. She has a broad experience in generational wealth transfer, session planning, and legacy preservation. So through speaking engagements locally, offshore, and on the radio program Legacy Series, she has educated the public on the importance and benefits of estate planning. She started her career with the law firm of Liberation Partners, Ikeja, before joining the Trust Services Department of Wema Trustees Limited, where she was able to learn the practical aspects of estate planning and the various tools available. Now, Mofoluke also served as the company secretary of Great Nigeria Insurance PLC, and later joined First Trustees Nigeria Limited, now FBNQuest Trustees Limited. Mofoluke has a Master of Laws degree from University of Lagos, having obtained a Bachelor of Laws degree from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Osun State, and the Nigerian Law School, Buhari, Abuja, respectively. She represents her company on the boards of Nigerian Law Publications Limited, Books Industries Limited, and GFL and G Limited. Mofoluke loves reading African prose, writing, and she enjoys the bliss of a very quiet environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring up on stage our speaker, Ms. Mofoluke. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Trisha, and thank you to all participants today. I wish everyone a happy International Women's Month.
Fantastic, guys! You need to show some love to our speaker. So you can use the clapping emoticon, any emoticon, to just welcome her in the comment section, and we're going to get right into the conversation for today. So I also want you to note that there'll be a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. Our duration here is 1 hour. So towards the end, we will open it up for you to ask questions. So when it's time, you can just send your questions to the chat room, and we will pick them from there. All right, thank you, thank you. I see you all with the hands. Thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. So we're gonna kick right into it. And my first question is for you to understand, why we're here. What exactly are we doing here? Before the first question, we're going to be putting up a poll. You should see it on your screen in a few seconds. Fantastic. So the question is, what is the main reason you do not have an estate plan? So if you see this, which you should, just pick your answer. Are you too young? I don't have enough assets, or the thought scares me, right? So we will look at the answers and we'll speak about it in the light of the conversations. So while that comes in, ma'am, I'll just go straight into the first question, which is, can you shed more light on estate planning? We've said that today we want to come and learn how to plan our estates. So what is estate planning and why is it important for all of us here?
Thank you very much, Tricia. That question, a lot of people tend to misconstrue estate planning with, estate management. They say, oh, isn't it the same thing? So let me clear that misconception. Estate management is when you have, properties, real properties in a particular estate and is managed. While estate planning, simply defined, is an individual, putting all his or her assets under a central vehicle for ease of transfer to the next generation. Maybe I should take that again. Estate planning is when an individual puts all his or her assets under a central vehicle for ease of transfer to the next generation. I would like to say it's a very important concept, and it is very critical that we all take out time to ensure that we undertake one. I guess, hence the reason preservation.
Okay, fantastic. I think that was like really precise to the point. So we'll look at the polls, the summary of the polls that we asked some 1 minute ago. Fantastic. So we have, funny enough, nobody here thinks they're too young. That's interesting. 85%, yeah, 85% says I don't have enough assets, and 15% say the thought scares me. So if I ask you, ma'am, like, what is enough assets? How do we know that we are ready to start planning our estates? What do we need to have to start?
Responding to that poll first, before I go to responding to your question, Tricia, a lot of people actually say it's a misconception. Oh, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have wealth. I don't have what to transfer. It is inaccurate. The reason I say it's inaccurate is because, it's a very subjective thing when you assess yourself. Maybe you are assessing yourself with maybe a Dangote, or maybe the best person in your industry. Maybe they do an assessment of financial standing and you think you are far below whoever it is you are measuring yourself with. It is a misconception, because when you are looking at estate planning, once you start working and you start earning salaries, you have a duty to ensure that the money is in the bank, your retirement savings account, maybe a landed property that you think, oh, it's just in Mowe, maybe you bought it for maybe $1 million, 1.5, some amount that you think is not so significant to you. These all form part of your asset or part of your estate. I would like you to allow me define what an estate means. An estate simply means everything owned by an individual, from your bank account, retirement savings account, collection of jewelries, artwork, or artworks, as the case may be, your landed properties, your real properties, everything constitutes what forms your estate. And it is important that you start thinking of ensuring that these assets are preserved and transferred to your beneficiaries, your desired beneficiaries, the way and manner you want it to be done.
Okay.
I was able to address your question, or you want me to?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And guys, this is something that, you know, many of us think about, where you feel like, oh, you have to be a Dangote, or you have to have amassed wealth to 30 million or billion, you know, before we can start planning our estates. But what our speaker is basically saying is that whatever assets you have, even if it's one land that you think is in the remotest part of the world, or it's your, you know, artwork, it's jewelry, they are assets, and you can start with that. Pat is saying, oh, wow, collection of jewelry. Yes. Yeah, yes, it is assets. Thank you, Ma, for shedding light on that. So the other question that I have for you is, what can you say are the most common misconceptions about estate planning? And I know that you have spoken to thousands of people over the course of your career, you know, and we've already seen one misconception here, which is, I don't have enough assets. So what other misconceptions should we look out for that people have concerning estate planning?
Thank you, Tricia. You know, like you mentioned, we have, oh, yes, I don't have a lot of assets. Or you have situations where people say, I think I'm too young to undertake an estate plan. I don't know what they mean by too young, because I'm sure you do not want to wait till you're 70 or beyond before you start making arrangements, because, you know, deaths or incapacitation, they are part of, you know, life's certainties. It happens to the best. It could be, you know, we are in a pandemic presently. The number of people that have passed, young, old, middle-aged, a lot of people never, you know, imagined or thought these things would happen to them. Too young. In some cases, you find some family members say, oh, my family already understands me. They know my view or opinion about a certain way, or how I want my children to be raised. So they would ensure when I'm no longer there that they follow through with those views that I hold dear. That is a misconception. It is wrong. They say, oh, maybe estate planning, undertaking an estate plan is very expensive, so they will not be able to, you know, engage the services of a professional. While some people also feel they can do it themselves, and that's where they get it wrong, because there'll probably be loopholes. We have instances also where, you know, our Muslim brothers or brethren, they feel because the Quran has stipulated how distribution of, you know, assets or inheritance should be done in the Quran, there's no need for them to write a will. However, there's a sunnah that says, for anyone that has assets to bequeath, they should not allow 2 nights pass without writing a will. What does that say? That validates the need for you to outline your directives regarding your assets. However, you know, distribution will be done in line with what is stipulated in the Quran. Write out your instructions, ensure you get guidance. We are, you know, we are experts in that. We can assist you to ensure, you know, these directives are followed through and adhered to and structured appropriately. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You know, I like the point that you made in there, which is talking about money. You know, that sometimes we think that we need a lot of money to start the conversations around planning our estate. So let me just ask you direct, because I know that some people already have that question in head. How much do we need? Is there a certain amount of money, you know, we need to start planning our estate?
Okay, if I get your question right, I think you're trying to say, oh, your net worth before you start thinking of, you know, creating an estate plan. Or
no.
Okay,
it's how much are we going to pay
for the service?
Yes,
okay.
How much we pay for the service? Yes.
Okay, you see, the misconception with FBNQuest trustees, with as little as 50,000 naira, you can have a basic plan created for you. Basic plan subject to other factors, because before we draw up an estate plan for you, we need to understand, you know, your lifestyle, your family dynamics. We need to understand the type of assets you own, your business interests, You know, do you have business interests locally, offshore? Are these business interests in a regulated sector? We need to understand the ages of your beneficiary, because your beneficiaries, if they are underage, you want to make plans around education for them. We would recommend, create an education trust. It could be denominated in whatever currency you desire, and you can state your directives around the type of schools you want them to attend. And a lot of other robust objectives can be outlined in there as well. So the complexity would grow from how the dynamics of your person. So, but for a very basic arrangement from 50,000 naira, you can have.
Wow. Wow. When I heard 50K, I'm like, because, sometimes we think that these things are so far-fetched and really pricey that we don't even bother to ask how much it is. So, guys, I hope that you heard that with as little as 50,000 naira, you can engage the services of FBNQuest, to help you plan your estate properly. So the other question that I have is, so what happens, if an individual passes on with no estate plan, but has a next of kin documented? Will that suffice for the transfer of assets?
Thank you very much, Tricia, for that question. The first part of the question, if a person dies without a will, it is said that the person has died intestate. And the family members are required to process what is called a letter of administration. The estate administration laws of each state, has stipulated persons who are eligible to make such application to the probate registry. But that process is long and tedious. You do not want your family members who are going through the process of bereavement to start going from place to place, trying to trace your assets, trying to know, I think he was speaking with a particular vendor regarding the purchase of a property. I think maybe he had shares in a particular company. You do not want your family members to suffer that. Also, the challenge of, individuals, reaping where they did not sow. Because some people will just sit on some of these assets and they will not disclose that, indeed, the deceased had some investments with them. That's how some people enrich themselves. So it is important that we take that decision now, and you can distribute it the way you want instead of leaving it to the whims of family members or the state to determine for you. Speaking about next of kin, next of kin is just a contact person. A next of kin is not the person that enjoys benefit from an investment. I take that again. A next of kin is just a contact person. A next of kin is not your beneficiary that takes, benefits accruable from an investment. I'd like to share an experience. We had some multinational oil company, call us in to take over the administration of a trust for some children of the deceased, of their deceased staff. And they explained to us, their HR department explained to us that was the second time they were going to make that payment. Because earlier they had made the payment to the next of kin in their records, not knowing that the deceased staff left a will. So when the executors of the will obtained the grant of probate, that is what you get when what validates the appointment of executors to an estate, they had to sue. They went to the company to request for the death in service benefit, and the company said they had paid it to the next of kin. They sued the company. The company was compelled to pay that money again. So they learned their lesson and changed the documentation from next of kin to ensure that they do not make that mistake again, or whoever takes over from that, role. So it is important that we are properly guided around, the use or the meaning of the next of kin. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's very interesting. I hope that we're learning so far. It's been, I've been learning and I've been taking so much notes. So we'll put up the second poll question now. So you should see the question pop up on your screen yeah, it's here. So this question is, as an entrepreneur, do you have a succession plan for your business? Answer with your full chest. So it's yes, no, I don't need one. So let us know what it is and we'll come back to that poll. So the other question that I have here for you, ma'am, is, so at what life stage should one begin to consider an estate plan, or under what circumstances?
Okay, thank you very much. When you start working, immediately you start working, you start earning salaries. You know, a lot of companies now, subject to the requirements in the Pension Reform Act, the number of people that can, you know, a company is required to make provision for contributory pension arrangements. Once you start earning salaries, you have assets because you have bank accounts, you have your retirement savings account. It is part of your assets. And in case anything happens to you now, you want some people to benefit from those, you know, investments, retirement savings account, your bank account, maybe a mutual fund. Once you have all that, you have a duty to create an estate plan. It doesn't have to be some huge investment. And as a business, as an entrepreneur, once your business breaks even, that you are making profit, you need to start planning for, you know, succession. You need to start making arrangements for an estate plan.
Okay, so if I heard you right, once you begin to make profits in your business, then you should start planning for succession and, of course, put together your estate.
Absolutely, absolutely, because you do not want to leave things to chance. You don't want to leave things to the whims of, you know, third parties. Let me call them third parties. It is important. It is your directives that you have outlined in your own instruction, and not some implied meanings given to, or sentiments or biases that are used to, you know, run things when you are no longer in the picture.
Very, very true. And so I have a friend who went through this. It's taken them over 4 years to get access to their late father's wealth, and they still haven't gotten it. You know, just because there was no proper documentation, there was no planning, so they really did not know what he had. And we don't want that. You know, if you think of somebody in your life, a friend, a family member, a church member, if somebody, you would have heard some of these stories before, where life happened and the people that are left behind, they move from rich to poor in the blink of an eye. Things just change. Yeah, because there was no planning, and then all that hard work that the person did before they left, that's it, it's gone. You know, and the people you love, they cannot participate or gain access to your wealth. So you begin to ask yourself, what's the point? What's the point? Yes, of doing a 6 to 6. What's the point of running a business where you're not sleeping and you're dealing with all sorts of things? What's the point if the people that you claim to love are stuck when you exit the picture, or if something happens to you and you lose some things? What's the point? So it's just for us to ponder on as we continue.
Trisha,
do you want to say something?
Yes, just to buttress what you just said. You know, my friend lost her husband to COVID in June, and I was asking questions around, he had a mortgage. Did he take a mortgage protection plan? She said she's not sure. What's his pension fund administrator? She said she doesn't know. Does he have a life insurance? She said no, she's not sure. And I'm thinking, what do you know? What do you know? The process of obtaining letter of administration commenced, but there are monies to be accessed. But because you need this letter of administration to access this investment, everything is at a standstill.
Hmm.
So families, friends need to start contributing to people that actually can live well, but they do not have access. So it's really important, like you mentioned, it's really important that if we claim to love our family members the way we actually say, we should take steps now.
Yes, fantastic. Take steps right now. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we'll look at the results from the second poll.
Okay.
Okay, so the question was, as an entrepreneur, do you have a succession plan for your business? And majority are in the no category. So we have 65% no, 27% yes, 7% I don't need one. What do you have to say, ma'am, about this result? I'm laughing at those that claim not to need.
From that response, maybe they said they do not need because they don't have any business.
Okay.
There's that possibility. Or they feel, oh, what they put in place suffices. But you know, a lot of times, until you speak with an expert, you do not know the level or the extent of, opportunities available to you. For those that said yes, I would say that's a good one. However, ensure that what you've created, the succession plan you've created, would indeed outlive you. And there will be adherence to the preservation of the legacies you wish to outlive you. For those that said they do not have, please, we are available to assist you, to guide you through the process of creating one. We understand you, we understand your business, we get to know your lifestyle, and we'll make recommendations that will suit your goals. And of course, ensuring efficiency around taxes for you as well.
Okay, so for those who are entrepreneurs, how can they factor in their business/succession plan? So you've told us we need to have a succession plan. So how can we factor that into planning for our estate?
It's when we sit with you, it's a doable exercise. Let me start there to assure people. It's an exercise that can be achieved, but it is not randomly done. We have to sit with you to understand the nature of the business. We need to sit with you to know what your lifestyle, is. We need to understand what your goals are around that business and how we are going to achieve it. Everything will be crafted in a very well-structured document.
Okay, that is super clear. Thank you very much, ma'am. So guys, we're slowly, coming to the end of the, fireside chat with myself and our speaker. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button and leave them there. I already see some very brilliant questions. So if you have any questions while we continue, please drop them there. So that when we get to Q&A session, we'll definitely pick your question. So ma'am, for those in the creative industry, can their intellectual property also be incorporated into the estate plan?
Yes, it can. But for a lot of people, especially those in the creative industry, they say, oh, yes, I have intellectual property over maybe a certain invention. But you cannot claim rights over that invention until it is registered. Do you have exclusive? That is when you have exclusive right to it. So you cannot claim to have exclusive right to something that is not created, that was not actually created by you. Once it is registered, you have proof of registration. You can derive benefits in this generation, and the next generation can also derive benefit from that invention, from that intellectual property. So a lot of people tend to forget that aspect, or maybe they don't get proper advice around it. I confirm again, you can have your intellectual property from part of your estate, and your estate will continue to get benefit from that copyright or intellectual property that you've created.
All right, that's very super clear. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we'll take the third poll. It will come up on your screen as usual, and then we'll continue So it's simple. Are you now open to planning your estate? Yes, no, undecided. We'll look at it as we go on. So I have one last question for you, Ma, before we go into questions from the audience. And this is, so what are the various options available to set up an estate plan? And how do you determine which is most suitable for you?
You know, when talking about the options, there are varying options or tools of estate planning that can be used or adopted. You know, so however, it is important that before a recommendation is done to the individual, that there's an understanding of the individual's peculiarities. What my estate plan would constitute would most likely be different from what your, Trisha's estate plan would be like. She's a business mogul. I am a salary earner. We would definitely have different views as to life. So there's need to understand you as a person. There's need to know what you want to achieve within the short, medium, and long term for you to have access to funds if required, maybe, taking annuities, maybe insurance policies. It's a whole lot of, factors that is considered before it is narrowed down. You can have the tool of a will, recommended to a particular client, and you can have the tool of a trust. And in some cases, you are going to have the two tools by just an individual because of the peculiarity of the person's situation. And also, we are always conscious of ensuring efficiency around taxes, because when your beneficiaries are going to enjoy these assets, we do not want your assets to have been depleted or totally eroded before they access it. So it is important to sit with you to understand you before recommendations are made.
All right, so guys, you need to speak to an expert so that you know which option best suits your purpose, your type, your asset class, and everything surrounding you. Like speak to an expert. Don't go and just pick an option you read on Google or somewhere. It will save you time. It will save you money.
True.
You don't want to be wasting money on a solution that is not meant for you. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we're going straight into Q&A. And there's so many interesting questions. The first question that I'll take is from Akoro. And the question is, how does estate plan relate to will?
A will is one of the tools of estate planning, simply put. So one of the vehicles you can use to plan your estate.
Okay, so a will is one of the vehicles you can use to plan your estate.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And that's super clear. I think somebody else asked a question. I don't know if you have something else to add to that. And is Ibironke is basically asking, could you differentiate between an estate plan and a will? So I think they're linked.
Estate plan is you as an individual putting your assets under a vehicle. The vehicle could be a will, the vehicle could be a trust for transfer to the next generation. You can use a will to transfer assets. You will name your beneficiaries, you will list out your assets, you will give your directives around who you want to be guardian to your children, you will list instructions on legacies you want to outlive you. You can create a testamentary trust in a will that speaks to, things you want to be done in your memory, things you want to be done, legacies you want to outlive you. That can be achieved through a will. You can also use a living trust to outline your directives on what you want to be done to your estate, your children to go to certain schools, your wife to be taken care of, your properties, your companies to be managed by the trustee. It can be as robust as you want it. So estate planning is the process. A will, a trust are vehicles you can use to achieve the process of transferring these assets to the next generation.
Fantastic. I hope that that answered your questions. So guys, I see a couple of you asking questions in the comment section. Please use the Q&A button, and even the questions you're asking, ensure that you are sending to all panelists and attendees, because some people are sending to only all panelists. And just go to the Q&A button, click on it, and ask your question. Okay, so this one is from anonymous attendee. How do I get started? I have 3 kids, ages 5, 9, and 13. I am a widow. I have few assets and funds received after his death. And now we are in France, where I am doing a master's degree. I want to initiate an estate plan.
I will not make recommendation on what will be suitable to you now. I would like to have your contact details. Then we can take the conversations further. I would make the recommendation. You know, it's like a consultation. You know, oftentimes when I say, oh, an estate planning practitioner is like a doctor. So I always say, oh, an estate planning, you know, doctor. Because we need to understand, do some sort of diagnosis of your needs before a recommendation is done. If you go to a medical doctor, the medical doctor will not just, oh, because you said you have a headache, they will not just give you Panadol. They will need to know the frequency of, you know, the period you've had the headache. They would ask further questions, maybe other symptoms. So there are other questions that need to be asked before recommendation is done to the lady from France. Yes, an estate plan can be structured, but we need more information before we conclude.
All right, so we will just need your contact details. You can send in your contact details, and we will get in touch with you so that we, you know, truly understand other things, ask you proper questions that you may not want to share in public, and then give you an informed stand on what option you should take. So I hope that that helps you. Okay, so Abimbola Olayemi has asked a question, and it's basically, what does it entail to set up one, and can you decide to terminate it at any point in time? Or if you decide that you have a need to sell, I think this will be selling your assets. So can it be terminated, and what does it entail to set it up?
To set it up, you complete the account opening forms. If you create a trust arrangement, my recommendation usually is you create a revocable arrangement. That is something you can terminate as you wish. You have a minimum period, notification period of, you know, 30 days to say to us, oh, I want to discontinue this arrangement. So you are not put in a box of, oh, creating an irrevocable arrangement, a revocable one that you can, if you are dissatisfied or you need to sell assets. If you move assets to your trust that you've created, you can move it out of the trust. You just, you know, give instructions to the trustee, I want this asset moved out of my trust. We have people that have done that in the past, and yes, it's achievable. You can move it in, you can terminate, you can increase it, you can adjust it, you can amend it, you can add assets to it. You know, it's very flexible, subject to what your needs are and what your objectives are at time.
All right, so I hope that answers your question, Abimbola. It is flexible, and depending on what you need, it can be worked around. So again, just reach out to FBNQuest and they will get you started on the journey. There's just so many questions pouring in. You know, I love when there are many questions from a session, because it just basically tells me that one, the session was that good that you have leading questions out of the conversation, and two, you are engaged. You're not on Zoom and eating rice somewhere. You're right in front of your system, listening to what is going on. Okay, so I have a question from Adegboyega Ogunlesi, and this is very interesting. It says, what is the difference between engaging you or dealing directly with a lawyer to guide you through will writing?
Excellent question. Thank you so much, Adegboyega. You see, I'm a lawyer. My team members are lawyers. Most of us are lawyers. You see, there's a difference between people that are practitioners on the field that carry out, you know, executorship arrangement or estate planning arrangement administration. Our experience that we've seen in the field in implementing, in administering, in executing people's estates, we bring it to bear in drafting your estate plan, in drafting your will, so that, you know, these mistakes do not repeat themselves. If you have, you know, everybody, that's what I always say, you do not have something called, Yorubas call it Gbogbo Nishe, someone that is generally specialist. There's nothing like that. Everyone has their forte, they have their niche. This is what we do, this is what we understand. You know, you have a lawyer, maybe the firm has specialty in litigation, oil and gas, mediation, arbitration. But here, this is solely, exclusively what we do. Estate planning, estate administration, legacy preservation, that you will get value for, because you know, you can't compare it to a generalist specialist. Let me just end it like that.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. So I have a few people who have said, oh, they want our contact details for security reasons. So just check the comment section. You see there, it has been dropped. Emails, you can, an email address, contacttrustees@fbnquest.com, or there are 3 phone numbers there. So just go to the comment section, grab it and save it, right? Since you don't, because you don't want to divulge some type of information on the internet. So yeah, you have it there. All right, so we have more questions. Thank you for the questions. Now this one is there an annual fee that you pay on the trust?
Thank you very much. Yes, there is an annual fee you pay on the trust, and it is called the trustees management fee. If you have cash assets in your trust, it is managed, it grows. So we charge on a percentage of interest earned. You know, income is a percentage of income, 10% of income earned on the trust. So your principal remains. It is, our fee is based on the interest that is generated on your principal. So your principal continues to grow with the additional interest that is, you know, accumulated to the fund. Yes, we charge 10% of interest earned on the cash in the trust.
Okay, so 10% on
Yes.
interest.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I hope that answers. There's like 5 people who asked fees. So Abayomi, Barbara, all of you, that is what it is. Okay, so thank you very much. Now somebody says, I heard you use the word lifestyle as a condition for planning an estate. What does this actually mean?
Okay. There are individuals who have children within and without. They have children in marriages and they have children outside marriages.
Oh, okay.
That is a major factor.
Okay. Okay, so that's what she means by lifestyle. There's a follow-up question to the answer you gave some seconds ago, the 10% on interest. So Pat is asking, is the 10% on other assets like gold too?
Okay. So for that is a custodial arrangement, and it depends on the structure you have with us. If for custodial arrangements, we charge fees from 115,000, but it depends on what duration you want to keep it with us, because sometimes they would say, oh, it's a year, 2 years, 6 months. So it varies. So depending on the duration and the existing relationship you have with us, in some cases, you might not need to pay, because if we have actually going to be administering your estate and going to be passing on these assets to your beneficiaries, you might not need to pay for custodial of those documents or those assets.
Pat Exotic, just send the email or call the number so that you can discuss in details. You may not need to pay for that.
Yes.
Guys, I hope that I hope we're learning. I hope this has been useful to you. Let us know in the comment section. Has this been useful? We still have a couple of questions. We'll get through a few before we call it a day. So thank you for sending in brilliant questions. We have this one that says, for someone who all the net worth is in cash without any tangible assets, how can one go about estate planning?
You can create a trust with the cash assets that you own. You give your directives on how you want it to be managed. If you have preferences or channels of investments you desire that the funds should be invested, you can give directives around that. You can, it's good. You can make a plan around your cash investments or your cash assets. It doesn't have to be physical, real properties, because if you have real properties, you need to actually move it to the trust for it to effectively belong to the trust. Okay, because you need to obtain governor's consent. You need to perfect it, the title in favor of the trust. If you call your trust ABC Trust, the title of that property must reflect ABC Trust. That is when it is effectively a trust asset. So having cash assets is a very simple arrangement, and it can be done for you. Yes.
All right, Grace, I hope that answered your question. Thank you for asking. So Olufemi has this question that I was going to ask, and Olufemi has asked it for me. And it says, if there is a will properly registered, is there a need for a letter of administration?
There is a will. You don't need a letter of administration. The will, you don't need one, except there are certain assets that were excluded in the will. But if you have a will that has outlined all the assets, the beneficiary, and other directives, you do not need a letter of administration.
Right, Olufemi, so it's not needed if there is a will that is properly registered. Thank you, ma'am. So Anonymous says, I own a house together with my husband. Our names are on the document. I have 70%, while my husband has 30%, but this is not documented. Can I still include this house to my estate plan? If I die, will the estate be divided equally?
By owning assets, the title documents having the joint names, you own the assets equally. There are various types of, arrangements. You have tenancy in common, joint tenancy arrangement. But because there is no record of the percentage contributed by each party, the estate plan you are going to create will be a joint estate plan with your spouse. And the law is the right of survivorship, comes to play. That is, whoever survives the other enjoys the benefit of that asset.
Okay, so as long as both of you are on the title document, it is owned equally.
Yes.
So there, Anonymous, your 70% and 30% is not recognized under the law anywhere inside your household.
Because you did not even, there is no document to show the contributions of each of the parties.
Okay. I hope that helped you. All right, moving on. We are almost at the end. It's been interesting. Taiwo Olayiwola says, it's possible I missed this because I came late. Next time, properly. But please, what is the difference between succession plan and estate plan? And are we to plan for both?
Okay, it's really the same. Because what you're saying is, okay, you are planning for the next generation. You are putting all your assets to give to the next generation. You want some people to succeed you. You have, things you want to be done when you are no longer there. Like I defined estate planning, assets under a central vehicle to the, for ease of transfer to the next generation. Succession plan. Oh, yes, who's going to take over? Who's going to continue to administer things in my absence? Who are those I am going to designate to ensure that, oh, my family runs smoothly the way I was doing it. Oftentimes, some people have so much trust. You find out some people have so much trust in family members, siblings. Yes, it's a good thing. But what we found from experiences, life happens to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they might start out having the best interest of, their brother or their siblings' estate at heart. But when a beneficiary in the estate starts insulting them, they might say, oh, please take and manage yourself the way you like, which is contrary to the intention of the asset owner. That is why we always say, why don't you have an institution administer these things on your behalf? You are rest assured that they will follow through with your directives as you have outlined it in the document appointing them. And there are situations as well where you find out that, you've appointed a particular person as an executor to an estate. That person has been carrying on these responsibilities, collecting rent from properties, selling assets. But the beneficiary, the children of that executor might start thinking those properties belong to his or her father. They will start fighting the original, beneficiaries to the estate, claiming rights over the assets where their father was acting or their mother was acting as an agent or an executor to the estate. So to separate that, that confusion, why don't you just appoint an institution and let's assist you to carry out your objectives or seamlessly, objectively, without, chaos or conflict. Thank you.
All right. Appoint the experts to avoid chaos, to avoid conflict. I have this question from Anonymous. Suppose all your assets are in joint ownership with your spouse and you have no will or trust. What happens when one of the parties dies before they could prepare a will or trust?
I think I mentioned it. The right of survivorship. Whoever survives the other enjoys the benefit of that asset.
Okay, all right. That's clear. If I want to leave all my assets to my child who is still a minor at the moment, do I need to involve an executor or a guardian?
If it depends on the structure you want to create. If you create a trust arrangement, you would appoint and give responsibilities to a person called a trust protector on how you want, distributions to be done for the minor. Education, the trust protector would present invoices for school fees, for welfare needs, other things that, the trust would encapsulate, other objectives that the trust would encapsulate. If it's a will, you have the opportunity to appoint a guardian. You have the opportunity to state how you want the minor to be catered to. So it depends on the structure that you have. Eventually, yes, you can give instructions on how your minor would be catered to, but everything is subject to the type of the vehicle that you use eventually.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We are slowly coming to the end, so I'm going to take the last question for today. This is from Ebele Hannah, and she asks, so does a custodial arrangement just mean keeping in your custody without you administering the estate?
That's why I said there's situations where it's an isolated service, where it's just keeping. So there are instances where it is an estate plan and those assets are part of the estate plan. Like I said, you may not need to pay for keeping those assets with us, subject to the estate plan that you have with us or your instructions regarding your estate plan. It can be carried out as, a service, custodial arrangement. However, if you have those assets named that you want to keep with us under your estate plan, and we have been appointed as executors or trustees to those assets, it is our duty to keep them, because it is our duty to give it to the beneficiary when you've stipulated in your documents, your estate planning documents.
So, so I think this is like many of the other questions. It depends on what the arrangement is, what the plan is. So it can
Yes,
just be keeping, it can be keeping and administering. So that's
absolutely.
why you have to speak to the expert.
Yeah.
I'll just look at the response from the last poll that we had. Let me see what it was. It'll be interesting to see, what people think now, if they are now. Okay, so the question was, are you now open to planning your estate? 77% said yes, 2% said no, and 22% said undecided. So, ma'am, for the 22% that are still sitting on the fence, what's the last thing that you'll say to them?
I would just like to say to them that they take the decision now. The lack of decision could be due to the fact that, some of them are scared and they don't want to think about it. A lot of people tend not to. They say, oh, by God's grace, no evil will befall me. Or inshallah, it shall be well with me. And, a lot of these things that we say, yes, God will keep us till a good old age. However, make that move now. Take that decision now. And if you say, oh, it will not happen to me, one day at a time, we will all die. We pray not now that we fulfill purpose on earth, but let's do it now. Thank you very much.
All right, let's do it now. Thank you very much, ma'am. It's been so amazing having you here, and it's been very insightful. Thank you very much. Okay, people, that is about it. I'm actually, very excited because we had over 60 intelligent questions. Like, there's so many questions. I lost count at 60. So we are aware that we've been unable to answer a couple of questions because of the time frame. So for those of us who still have questions that were not answered, I'm looking at over 30 questions that we didn't get to here. We will respond to you. All you have to do is just email webinars@fbnquest.com and we will respond to your question. There's no stupid or foolish question. Any question you have that will help you take an informed decision, just write webinars@fbnquest.com and we will reply you. Now, I need you to just do me one favor. Go to your social media handles when we're done here. So whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, type @FBNQuest and just follow, because there'll be information on, more interesting webinars and conversations like this. Now, the next webinar, remember I said this is a series. The next webinar holds on Monday. So it holds on Monday right here, on the 22nd. Let me know if you can see it on the screen. Can you see the flyer on the screen? It holds on Monday, same 2 p.m. right here on Zoom. Now, it's interesting that this is the next webinar because somebody had asked, Daniel Echoga had asked, is it wise to invest part of one's profits from this to this? And I'm like, Daniel, you're already in the future. We have, we have a webinar coming up on investment options and how you can get started. Okay, so if you're interested in, learning, okay, how can I start investment with whatever amount you have, especially as an entrepreneur, you need to be in the next session. So you can basically get in by registering. So if you go to the comment section, you'll see the link to register, or you go to the social media handle of FBNQuest. You will definitely find the link to register. You have to register to get into the webinar on Monday. So thank you very much. And again, if you have any immediate questions, please send an email to webinars@fbnquest.com and we will respond to you. And then for those who wanted to reach out because they didn't want to speak about their business in public, you have the contact details in the comment section. That email is contacttrustees@fbnquest.com, or you can call any of the 3 numbers showing in the comment section. There's 0805-715-0211. The second number is 0805-400-0299. And the third number is 0813-173-0066. So just go there, copy it before we disappear. Thank you again. My name remains Trisha Biz, and I do hope that I see you on Monday, same time, 2 p.m. Have a fantastic day. And please, if you learned from today's session, share it on your social media. You know, put it up on your stories. Take a screen grab while I'm smiling. Take a screen grab and put on your stories, put on your WhatsApp status, because we need more people to be aware on how to plan for the money that they have worked so hard for, and invite them to register for Monday's webinar so that we can continue these conversations. Have an amazing day and take care. Bye.
Bye.